All right, I think we are live. Welcome to Adjuster Hour. We are thrilled for this episode with Matthew Ham. For those first time viewers, Adjuster Hour is a 1 hour talk show where we interview insurance professionals specifically in the field of property adjusting. So we can't wait to share this exciting discussion with you. So, hey, Matt, your experience in the industry makes you a valuable guest on Adjuster Hour, and I'm eager to delve into these amazing questions with you. But first, let's hear about your journey. How long have you been in the insurance industry, and what inspired you to join this field?
Sure. Yeah. First off, thanks for having me. I'm, honored to be one of your guests. To answer your question, my journey into insurance is about 5 years ago. Like most of us, I didn't grow up dreaming of being in the insurance industry, but I had a great friend, and he owned an IA firm, and I was on the business development, commercial operations side of things prior, and that's really what drove me to be in the industry, just to see what I could do, with his company. And, that's what hooked me. I mean, there's so many things in this industry. It's just a mix of problem solving, and then obviously the service aspect of it and strategy. And I mean, honestly, I really have no desire to leave now that I'm here. It really is a good mix.
This industry kind of sucks you in. Sorry, my dog is barking ferociously in the background. We can get her to quiet. That'd be great. She's a German Shepherd Lab mix, and you cannot walk past my house and not know that she's inside. She lets everyone know that she's here. Don't walk past my house. Yeah, this industry, it really sucks you in when you sometimes when you least expect it, and once you start, it's really hard to stop. It's hard to get out of this industry. It's flexible. It's exciting. It's an adventure. There's always something new. I haven't really found or met anyone. The people that I meet are long timers. The newbies come and go, but once you get started, it's hard to get out. So I'm glad you're here. And so let's get right into it. We have a big topic. Right now, it's a hot topic, the future of AI and how it's changing the adjusting game. So how do you see technology and AI enhancing the role of insurance adjusters in the coming years?
The way I view it, AI is going to be like a digital right hand, an extra set of hands and eyes. It's not about replacing adjusters. I know that's been kind of the scare, if you will, but it allows the adjusters time to do what humans do best. They're going to interpret things. They're going to be empathetic and communicate things that a computer can't do. So using AI as an administrative assistant of sorts, it's just going to automate those redundant tasks. It's going to, optimize claim files. I mean, obviously, and identify key documents, etc. And it does it all in seconds. Stuff that would take, a file reviewer 30 minutes is now done in 30 seconds, with the use of AI. So we know in this industry that it's about speed and accuracy. And when you're handling hundreds of claims, that time saved adds up fast. So I know there's pushback, it's still early in the game, but how I see AI moving forward is no different than the word processor, or, back in the day when we would write papers in high school, you hit the spelling and grammar check button, to make sure it, was okay. That's kind of how I view it. I honestly don't know many people who don't use ChatGPT in their daily lives. I can't remember the last time, I Googled something, so I kind of view like that's how it's going to eventually progress. There's already so many great companies out there that are dedicated to AI and enhancing. And I think the faster adjusters adopt this technology and the paradigm shift, Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the key is adopting the technology. I, for the longest time, rejected Xactimate Mobile. For the longest time, I am a pen and paper person, and I tell that to everyone. So AI in my claims, I was a little weary. We use AI in our in our claim files, mainly because I didn't know the capacity. I didn't know what the AI technology could do for me, but it's a tool. It doesn't replace me. It's a tool that helps me do the job quicker in an environment that requires that speed and that accuracy and that efficiency. So with my current role, we do use the technology, and I use it as my admin. His name is Clive, and he does what I tell him to the point. And Clive and I don't chat. Clive works for me, and it's kind of funny because my coworker, she uses, is it like a friend, like a colleague, like that's her coworker. And I'm like, no, Clive's my assistant, and he's gonna do the job, draft the things for me. But oh, hold on, let me plug my computer in. Hold on. Oh my God, leave it up to Nat. Leave it up to me. Wouldn't that be terrible?
We're about to shut down, everybody.
I saw battery saver on. I'm like, what? What is happening? But yeah, I use it. It's great. Again, it's my admin tool. It helps me find in very large files that have 200 plus documents. Maybe it's litigated file or complex losses. If I'm looking for a certain document, I can ask my AI guy that's integrated in my file and go, hey, where is this located at? So it's more than just it helps me. It's literally my assistant. And so it doesn't replace that human connection, which is so important, but it helps us make more time for the human connection. So I think it's a good way to have that distinction and to not be afraid of the technology. So that's my two.
Well said. I 1,000% agree.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's here. Yeah, I know it's going to, some companies are going to hold off and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's too big to stop. That's
right.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, and in major cats, most carriers, they're going to rely on an IA firm. So that being said, let's get into our next topic: how to grow an adjusting firm in a competitive market. What key strategies have you found effective for scaling a national IA firm? Ooh. There he is.
No idea what just happened.
Oh, it was only me. It's me. It's always me.
I'm sitting there in the middle of my spiel, and yeah, okay, well.
Hey, this is what happens when it's a one woman team handling a technology she doesn't know how to use.
Happy to be back, everybody.
Okay, so we're talking about IA firm. How do you scale an IA firm?
How do you scale an IA
what was
firm?
the question?
Is that the next? Let's see here.
Is that the next question? It's okay. Hey, it is okay. So we were talking about in a major cat.
Yeah.
So most carriers rely on an IA firm. What key strategies, have you found effective?
The best strategy for effective scaling is leadership. Adjusters, what I've seen is that we're all grown-ups. Adjusters don't need another boss. Adjusters need to be supported. I always say if a team lead can't be reached or isn't helpful, they're not leading, right? Like that's just the end of it. And at the end of the day, adjusters themselves need to feel backed. They need to feel equipped to do their job and respected. You'll build a loyal, high performing team that way. And in my opinion, that's the best way you scale. It's about people. That's, I mean, it's about the employee. Take care of the employee, they'll take care of your customer. We've all heard those sayings before. So I think that's really what it's all about. So
Yeah,
affect.
I
So is
agree.
that what you meant by strategies, or is there?
Yeah. No, that's, first of all, my sound might be a little choppy. I apologize for that. But, when it comes to an IA firm and especially in a cat situation, I'm a firm believer that the team manager or team lead, whatever the label may be, the person over the field team, they should be a direct line of
Yep.
help for their adjusters. I've heard time and time again from just adjusters I've come into contact with that they can't get that help that they
Mhm.
need. And it's shocking because especially in a cat, I get we're all extremely busy. The AI is going to help us with that. We've addressed that. That's going to help us with our time management and our organization and admin, which should give us more time to be that team lead, to be that direct line of communication, because you can't get rid of that element. And I think firms that believe that they can are not going to make it. But what do
Agreed.
I know? I'm just not.
No,
So
no,
with
I
cheap,
totally agree. Yeah, no, that hits the nail on the head. I mean, if you don't have proper lines of communication, your team doesn't feel supported. Um,
mhm.
I mean, the good adjusters, whether they're a 1099 or W-2, they're going to go find, and they're going to have the ability to go anywhere they want. So if they're not filling those things, um, you're losing out.
No.
So.
No, and especially in a cat, again, it's
Mhm.
it's where it's needed most. You need bodies, and those bodies don't necessarily know what they're doing when they first start. That's okay. It's okay. They can learn,
Yep.
but we need to teach them. We need to have that, that those resources available to them. So,
Agreed.
now, given that there's so many there's so many IA firms out there. There's so many. How do you build and maintain client trust to win those major accounts in this competitive landscape?
Consistency and being able to communicate. Uh, when you're going to in the IA firm world, if you're going to a carrier or if you want to support a TPA or MGA, you have to be able to show them, like, first of all, like, they
Mhm.
want to see, sometimes they want to see numbers. And, if you don't have the numbers, sometimes you just have to be a likable person. You have to be able to effectively communicate. And, the first, they may blow you off, and then the second time, and then you get around to the 50th time of reaching out, and being like, hey, we can do this for you, and show you the value proposition. So you have to be consistent. That's really one of the main ways I've seen to get clients to trust you. But
Mhm.
to maintain it is, you got to show the results. As
Yeah.
a business development person in this world, it doesn't matter if I'm signing, a client a year or 20 clients a year. If the IA firm cannot support them, they shouldn't
Mhm.
be signing them.
Yeah.
There's a whole pie for everybody, right? And
That's
if you
right.
can't, if you can't support it, you're only hurting your company's brand, your personal brand, so
That's right. It's, what is it? Biting off more than you can chew.
yeah.
Even though you want to, you really want it and you want to give it your all, and then sometimes it happens, but building trust is hard when there's so much noise
Yeah.
and everyone's coming at you at different angles, and it's all about, it's almost like dating. It's like dating. It's like, okay, well, let's get to know each other. Do I like you? Am I liking you? Do I want to trust you to have that relationship? That's kind of how I feel about it. And sometimes you just don't jive with someone. And you have to, okay, I'm not driving with you, so what do you do in that circumstance? What other angle can you go? Okay, maybe personalities are different. What can I show you to build that trust?
Yeah. And that's okay. I
Mhm.
mean, sometimes the best thing you can do for your company in a situation like that, or if you're trying to go after a client that's a carrier, MGA or TPA, is to say, hey, I don't think we're a good fit.
Mhm.
People respect that. And,
Yeah.
you know, clients, there's this persona that people think that, oh, we're a TPA firm or we're an IA firm or whatever, we have to be absolutely perfect, and
Right.
at the end of the day that doesn't exist,
It
but
doesn't.
I mean, yeah, clients aren't going to expect you to be perfect. You're not going to have a flawless report every single time,
Mhm.
from your hundreds of adjusters that you have on staff, but they do expect accountability, so
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
I mean, the relationship matters. And it's kind of like, well, dating, if the person you're dating is just constantly throwing shade, as my 13-year-old might say, you know,
Or
or,
being sus, I think that's a new
yeah,
term.
yeah,
Yeah.
just letting you down. Yeah, peace out.
Mhm. Peace out,
But
yeah.
if it's a great relationship and whatever, then it's kind of like, what, yeah, we can work through this, so we're all people,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you treat your clients problems like they're your problems, and
Yeah.
you work through it together and you promote the partnership and the relationship, that's really the biggest thing. To I mean, you have to get them to trust you
Mhm.
enough to use you, but that's really where the trust comes in, where you're giving
Sure.
those consistent results. And when things go awry, you just own it, and you
Yeah.
say, we're going to do better.
Yeah, and I think like you said, that's okay to make mistakes. That's okay to have, that imperfect report come through. But it's about how you respond to it. And I think that's what keeps it going is okay, yes, you have the accountability, you know that we messed up, there was an error or something. We're going to fix it, we're going to make it right. And this just happened with one of our vendors, not an IA firm, but an outside vendor. And I didn't like what was happening with the way the file was being handed. So I had to reach out and say, "Hey, supervisor, I need to talk to you," And when we spoke, I made it clear like, look, I get it. It's just a bad day. Someone's having a bad day. I know your quality of work is not like this, but I need someone to get on it and like, we need to fix this. And their response was, let me get in the file right now and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do while you're on the phone. And they did. And I was like, okay, okay, I feel heard. I think you need to feel heard.
Mhm.
Um, and that's all of that is what it's going to take to stand out amongst all these IA firms. And word of mouth, I'll end with that. People talk. It's such a big industry, but it's so small.
Mhm.
It's so small. So people will talk. People will hopefully share the good experiences and not
Mhm.
just the negatives on things. So all right, let's move on. Um, let's briefly talk about this. Can you discuss the balance between people and processes to ensure your firm stands out? I mean, the actual people. What can we do with our adjusters, with our people who are on the front lines? How can we make them stand out for us as an IA firm as the company?
I'm going to go back to what you said about relationship, or
Mhm.
somebody dating.
Yeah.
Except I'm going to use the word marriage at this point. Yeah,
We're jumping ahead. Okay, yeah,
we're
we're
at the
jumping to
next
marriage.
level.
Yeah.
A great process is absolutely worthless without great people like you're talking
Mhm.
about on the front lines.
Yeah.
But those people on the front lines, you know, they're if they're great, they're going to struggle if there's not a clear process. an
Sure.
objective. So, it's a marriage. You got to build your system to serve your people, not the other way around. And
Yeah.
I believe that's how you stand out. You're going to be more efficient, but at the end of the day, humans first.
Yeah. I love that. Love that. So, what strategies, okay, people first. So, what strategies can firms implement to support the well-being of their adjusters during these high stress periods?
In my opinion, simple things make a huge difference. Time is limited during a cat or those high stress times that you're talking about, but adjusters need space to connect as well. A place
Mhm.
to share wins, struggles, and just be seen. And you know take a breath. I think that's the big thing. We put an adjuster could have 50 claims during a cat, and they're just stressed. And the easy part is visiting, taking the pictures, but then you got hours of reports, right?
Yeah.
So I think firms need to figure out a little bit, how to shake things
Mhm.
up when it comes to that, because burnout is a real thing in the
Yeah.
insurance adjuster world. So, um,
I completely agree. And I talk about this a lot because this is how Adjuster Hour was born. At Minuteman, I randomly came up with Adjuster Hour because I was challenged with how can you get a group of 1099s to be loyal to your firm? That was what my boss told me. Make them loyal. make them loyal, like the song. Okay. Um, and so I was like, man, how am I going to make 1099s loyal? Well, first they need claims, right? They need money. But what else could I do? So I'm just brainstorming, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this adjuster hour thing. It's not this office hour is what I call it. I said office hour. Let me name it. I'm gonna name it adjuster hour, and I'm gonna be done with this task. And it's a basic, easy concept. It's not mind blowing. It's not, I invented the wheel. Um, it's so simple. Any firm can do it, but you have to show up. You have to take all the noise away and go, okay, I have 1 hour or I have two, whatever it is. I have 1 hour with you. Every single day we did this, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Central. And they showed up because I showed up for them and I was willing to help them and train them. And it became this this how cheesy, this beautiful thing, this beautiful thing. It became so like spitting. It became this thing that meant so much to me, and I think it meant a lot to them, where they knew, okay, I'm having a hard day, but I know Nat and the crew, I'm going to see them at 2 o'clock, and it changed everything. Now, were they extremely loyal? Were they only dated Minuteman? No, and I'm not stupid. I know that. But when I said, hey, I need you, they showed up. And that's what that was what I defined as loyalty, is when you need someone, they show up for you. And that's what we created. And I think if now maybe other adjusting firms are doing this. And that's what I hope they are. And I hope they're showing up for their people. But you got to know is that it's more than, okay, hey, do you need help? Hey, what do you need help with? It's, hey, oh, I got a fly in my ear. Here's an example of something. There's a mosquito in my ear. Oh my God. Here's an example of what we can do to improve. Let's work on it together. Let's improve together. Let's learn. Let's dive into this engineer report. So it wasn't just them coming to me with questions. I was showing up for them to help them grow. And that's all this is about, is getting better as an industry. It takes everyone showing up to get better. So
I love that. Yeah, just being present. Yeah, that's great.
it's just being present. Yeah, it's just being present and just showing up. Now, there are so many IAs, right? There's how many IAs do they have? What? I don't know. A million?
Yeah, just throw a big number
A
out there, you
million?
know.
My son said a gazillion the other day, and I said, "Do you even know what gazillion means?" He's like, "A lot." I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. Gazillion's a lot." So with so many IAs in today's industry, what can be done for adjusters to stand out? Let's see what we can find out from you, Matt.
You know, I think it's important to say that you, the adjuster, or even the like the solo adjuster or the national IA firm, it doesn't really matter. You are your brand,
Mm-hmm.
right? And reputation and integrity is everything. Whether carriers, clients, peers, they all remember the person. And this really goes back to what you just said: the person that shows up, the person
Yeah.
that delivers and has the ability to communicate. So a strong brand will open doors.
Okay.
I think that really is the biggest thing. If I when I was at Amerijust, I would answer the phones from time to time, but I was on LinkedIn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, plenty of adjusters that I saw, networking, and it was awesome, and I knew that they had zero experience. They applied with us, but
Yeah.
you could see that they're trying to get certifications, and it was really good to see because, uh, I mean, you didn't see that, or at least I didn't see it very often.
Yeah.
Those new adjusters hitting the market and taking the extra classes and doing all that kind of stuff. But I think too often we think we are what we do, and the reality is, what we do is really just a side point of our personal brand. Who is
Mm-hmm.
Nat? Who is Matt? And when people meet me, I want them to think, oh man, that guy has integrity, or oh, he was
Mm-hmm.
a upbeat guy, or whatever. And it's not just about being remembered. It's not a strategy. It's just who
Yeah.
you are. So I think your brand presence is crucial.
Yeah, I agree completely. I have been trying to, I don't know, spread the word or teach others that when I click on your LinkedIn, I should know I should know you. When you click on my LinkedIn, you know me. You know I'm bubbly. I'm about Louisiana. Um, you know about me. And so when I click on a LinkedIn profile, this is back when I was recruiting for Minuteman. Um, I would click on a profile and I saw crickets. And I'm like, well, okay, that could mean two things. They could be just really busy. They're so busy. They're so busy. And that could be true. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Or they're just not into LinkedIn, or they don't know how to network or brand themselves. But you got to get out there and network to stand out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not showing up, you're not going to get picked. You're not going to get deployed. Jeez.
Easy.
Leave it up to me. You're not going to get deployed. So in this time that we're so inundated with adjusters, you have to have that brand. You have to be seen. And it's easy. It's not hard. It's not hard to get your LinkedIn, up and running, or to comment, or to, we know you're on social, we know other people are on social media. They're scrolling, I don't know, people like TikTok. Instead of scrolling TikTok, go on LinkedIn, start making connections. You never know who you're going to run into, meet, that could change your whole career.
You're right. You know what, Nat? Whenever you had started this, your talk right then about Louisiana, you're from Louisiana, and that's how we met. Remember that you had made a comment about something about Louisiana, and
Oh, yes.
I made you a
I
custom
said, "Where's
marketing.
Louisiana?"
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
totally forgot about that. Yeah.
That's right. And you immediately made a graphic and it was like Louisiana was its own color. And I
Yep.
was like, okay, okay, he's cool. He understood the assignment. That is so fun. I completely
Yeah,
forgot about that.
I did too. Yeah. I mean, and look at us now, best friends.
Yeah, look at us now. We're on here. We're doing the thing. But look, I will tell you, I go to all the events
Mhm.
in Louisiana, not nationwide, but in Louisiana, and I've been going to all the events for 14 years. Do you know how many other adjusters I see?
How
Do you
many?
know? I can count them on my hand. They
Oh,
don't
wow.
show up.
Yeah.
I show up and I'm like looking around. I'm trying, and you know who's an adjuster and who's not. They're like firemen. Adjusters will tell you they're an adjuster. You don't have to ask. I heard that joke from a fireman before, and I was like, "Yeah, you're right. You know that they're firemen." Um, but it's so disappointing because showing up, that don't you can't complain about not getting work when you're not showing up, and that's how you're going to get ahead, and that's how you're going to stand out, point blank.
Agreed.
So what else can adjusters do to have that marketing strategy? Like, what are some tips you think they can go ahead and start implementing now?
Well, before I say the tips, everything to me starts with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going, into any situation with ulterior motives or anything like that, it's probably, it's not starting out well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I will just kind of throw that in there.
Yeah.
But as far as the extra tips, you have to have that visibility.
Mm-hmm.
What you said, LinkedIn is huge. There are so many administrators and
Yep.
presidents, you name it, they're on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best free brand
Yeah.
marketing you could have, and the more you engage, the the more attention you are going to get, and I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, or
Mm-hmm.
Vaynerchuk. Do you know him?
I've
Uh,
I've seen him on LinkedIn.
yeah.
I don't
So
know him, but yeah.
aside from his language, I really love the way, he talks, because it's just about reaching people,
Yeah.
so there's really nothing I can say to this point that you haven't already said. But at the end of the day, LinkedIn, I know Facebook has a lot of adjuster groups, you could be on those industry forums, you could go to those CE events. Be relatable. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't look over the fact of, sharing your story, how you got in the industry, and, helping to, you may not think it applies, but educating others sometimes with your past will,
Mm-hmm.
build your own future, so, you don't have to be loud about it. You don't have to be obnoxious, but
Yeah, like me.
just be, just be consistent, your personal brand in this
Mhm.
crowded industry. It can be daunting. I get it,
Yes.
but
Yes.
you're only going to meet one person at a time, one event at a time. Um, Put yourself out there, and if that's not your forte, if you will, and you're not a very good, maybe you're an introvert or something like that. Um, I know Dale Carnegie, has classes
Yeah.
to help people get out of their shell. I didn't particularly have that issue, but
Yeah, me
I
neither.
took a Dale Carnegie class before, and it was wonderful. So
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that you can do to work on yourself if you have those limitations.
Yeah, it's gonna take work, is what you're saying too. It's gonna
Yeah.
take work. It's not gonna happen overnight. And with anything and everything that you do in life, don't don't skip to the big picture. Like, don't skip to that final goal. It's baby steps. So maybe it's silly, but make a goal of I'm gonna comment on 3 posts today. Or every night before I go to bed, I'm gonna just comment, I'm gonna engage 3 times.
Mhm.
Just start there. Maybe maybe tomorrow I'm going to put on my calendar, spend 20 minutes working on my LinkedIn. Okay, check, done. Maybe
Yep.
I'm going to put a nice picture. Please put a nice picture. Please, like, I do I do not want to see your cropped photo with a girlfriend that or a boyfriend that you broke up with and like you can see half their body. That
Right.
just take a nice photo. And look, here's a tip. Use your camera, use the back of your camera, set it up, and literally do a modeling, like a models thing, like keep it on video, and then you can actually go through and just screenshot the images that look nice, the still shots, and
Mhm.
there's your nice picture. You don't need anything fancy. But yeah, those are my tips for your LinkedIn. You're welcome. Those are free tips.
I'm going to use that last one. I had not thought about recording.
Yes. It works. It works so well, and the quality of the photo is way better
Mhm.
than the front selfie. It's perfect. It takes a little learning curve, but you'll get there. So I don't have my book on me, but I'm reading the book. They're actually going to be on Adjuster Hour. It's about the customer service and your claims handling. And it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks just reading the first few paragraphs. It hit me like, wait a second, I need to look at myself in the mirror and how I'm doing my customer service and having that human element. So let's not forget what's truly important in this industry is the human connection. So let's kind of dive into that, Matt, the
Okay.
human side of claims,
Yeah.
What are the most pressing cultural issues in the insurance industry today?
Too many times and too many firms. I think they treat adjusters like cattle. They're
Mm,
disposable, and I hate that. I think
yeah,
that's one of the biggest issues we face. Like, oh, you're a 1099 and you did a great job, but we don't need you anymore. Talk to you in a year if something happens.
yeah,
And uh, I hate that. We burnout, lack
yeah,
of support, no sense of the adjuster, in those instances where they're treated as disposable. There's no sense of belonging, and
that's right. That's a good point.
I think that mindset trickles down to the policyholder experience, to be
Mhm.
honest, and one another big cultural things that we're going to run into, and we already are, is over the next 5-10 years we're going to see even more experienced adjusters retire.
Mhm.
Those ones that we have looked to for years, or they're just a staple in the industry. It's not, they're not going to be there anymore. They're going to be living their life on a boat in Florida or something. And I think it's crucial that we have these new adjusters that are hungry to gain experience and take their place, because there
Mhm.
is going to be a place, and
Yeah,
it's up to those adjusters to fill them.
it's up to us, Matt. It's me and
Yep.
you. We gotta fill in the gaps.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, it's scary, and it's scary to see some of the lack of experience show up where I don't expect it to show up. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
In roles I don't expect to see it. That has been challenging for me, having what is it? What is it? I don't know, how do I say this with delicacy and professionalism? If I have to ask myself that, I probably shouldn't say
Yeah.
it. Okay, sometimes okay, okay, in the past, not present, in the past, I have found myself reporting to what is it? Bosses, managers, others, working with others that kind of put me in my place where I'm like, "Oh, I do know what I'm doing." Like I do know what I'm doing here. I do know this. I do know how this works. And you don't. and
Yeah.
you don't. And that to me is the most terrifying position to be in. So we need to change that. I don't know how we're going to change it. I don't know how we convince that knowledge is everlasting, right? It's you have to, or always never ending. Like you always need to be more knowledgeable. You need to learn more. You need to have more experiences. Learning just doesn't end when you have X amount of years under your belt. That's the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make. So, how do we encourage an industry?
Are you
how do we
okay?
encourage? How do we encourage the industry to continue with their, learning, continue evolving? How do we do that?
That's a hard one. I think that, I mean, unfortunately, there are always going to be situations where a person, I don't want to use this wrongly, but weasels their way to the top, or,
Yeah.
nepotism, takes precedence over, uh, what should happen, or,
Yeah.
whatever. So I think people just have to continue to have that desire to learn themselves. I
Sure.
mean, if you're just looking to climb a ladder, or
Mhm.
something like that, at the end of the day, you're probably never going to be happy,
Yeah.
because there's always something better. But if you learn, take different courses and stuff like that, uh,
Yeah. Keep
I,
pushing yourself, like challenging yourself. That's
challenging
what I'm
yourself.
trying to say.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
The industry is always changing too. So you can't just say, okay, this is how I learned, and
Hmm.
this is what I learned. I'm going to keep it this way. You have to evolve with the industry. That's the point I'm trying. This long winded talk is what I'm getting to. Um, I'm typically like this. Yes. This is me. Um, it's ever evolving, and we have to stay with the trends
Hmm.
or we're going to fall behind. And to
Yep.
get ahead, it's okay. And it's okay to be an adjuster. It's okay to quote unquote just be an adjuster. It's not just being an adjuster. You're changing lives, you're helping people. So I don't want to say it like just being an adjuster, but it's okay to stay at that level, but you can increase your knowledge and increase your skill set
Yep.
being an adjuster. So I think that's okay. It's just
I do too.
knowing when.
And I think people. I mean, it's kind of a little bit off topic, but people need to be self-aware. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're happy uh, being a field adjuster or a desk adjuster, and that's what makes you
Yeah.
happy in life, then by all means. But I always don't complain about something if you're not willing to take the steps to change
Yes.
it, right? So, and even if it never changes, at least you did something, right?
That's right.
You can know for either a fact, or like maybe you end up changing your own perspective, on different things. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I love that. I love that. So we established that and we've established that there are a lot of new adjusters. I see it on LinkedIn every so often, a new graduating class.
mhm.
And I'm so happy for them because I remember how wonderful it was when I first started. I was so full of hope, Matt, and just energy, and the world was my oyster. But you quickly find out, I lucked out, and we don't need to talk about how I started, but I lucked out, thank goodness. But others don't have that same chance that, like, or opportunities that, I ran into.
Sure.
So it's not a problem that you're new or that you don't have experience, but what advice would you give new adjusters seeking to differentiate themselves in the industry besides, LinkedIn and everything?
Sure. You know, don't wait to be perfect. You're not
Oh,
going
yeah.
to get the experience until you have the experience, right? So but you have to be proactive, you have to, be a learner, take different courses. There are so many, I just lost my train of thought. What's it called when you, uh,
You sound like me
not
now.
not a written test, but like you have to like your driver's test. What's that called?
Yeah.
Not the
Oh,
written
your
part.
continuing education courses, your CE courses, or your
No, it's
designations.
no, it doesn't have anything to do with
Oh.
insurance. It's just a term. I went totally blank.
No, that's okay.
You have these. There are courses where they
Mhm.
have the roofs and they actually have hail damage.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yes, 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 yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
I'll remember it at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say. But
Mm.
there are so many of those courses that you can take. So it doesn't matter that you've never literally
Mhm.
crawled up on Jim Bob's house, because you did it. You know
Yeah.
what to look for, and that goes a long way. I answered so many phone calls at Amerijust, and they were new adjusters. They didn't have experience, and I mean, tone of voice. How if you
Yeah.
call an IA firm out of the blue and you're like, hey, I'm a new adjuster. It's like, if you don't have confidence in yourself, I'm definitely not going to have confidence in you. But, try to get on rosters, but
Mhm.
being on the roster doesn't matter unless they're actually calling you. And
Yeah.
why would they call you? They want somebody that
Mhm.
is hungry,
Yeah.
so again, be proactive in going out, taking those different courses, and by all means, don't reach out one time and think, well, I reached out to Sedgwick, or I reached out to Rise, and
Mhm.
or oh, I did my job, or whatever, I never heard back. It's like, well, come on.
Yeah. Sell
So
yourself.
yeah, keep
Sell
following up. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't need 20 years of experience
Mhm.
to get experience and to be able to have jobs. Really, you just need to have that determination, a little bit of grit, be professional, and a servant's heart, especially in this industry, because you're
Yeah.
going out there dealing with people that have either lost their home, or maybe can't pay the deductible for that
Mhm.
water leak. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. I
That'll get
love
you
that.
noticed.
I love that when they call you and they don't even sound like they really wanna even have the job.
Yeah.
Um, I can't tell you how many, yeah, adjusters that I talked to that it sounded like I was bothering them, and I'm like, "Well, wait a second. What is happening? I don't think I'm bothering you. I'm trying to s
Mhm.
we want people. We want people. We want people that want to be here,
Yep.
who wanna work. I think what the qualities that, that IA firms look for, let's talk about that.
Mhm.
When an IA firm is considering a candidate with no experience, what other qualities, like you said, the voice, the confidence, what other qualities are you guys looking for?
Be coachable. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I mean, if you're going in there with this mindset of, I mean, hopefully as a new adjuster, you wouldn't be thinking, oh, I know everything. But,
Wow.
I mean, sometimes you just, you know, I tell my boys all the time, and I never talk about their sports coaches,
Mhm.
because it's like, hey, you're going to be coached, and you're going to
Yeah.
be coached hard, and it is what it is. I mean, sometimes a coach or even a boss, whatever,
Mhm.
they're going to ride your tail,
Yeah.
so you have to be willing to learn, and regardless
Yes.
of the feedback, it's not always going to be rainbows and unicorns, right? uh,
That's right. That's
Especially
right.
when you're new, it's going to be critiques. So put in the work,
Mhm.
and take that feedback and take it as gold,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I hate to say it, but even if it's bad feedback, you're
Mhm.
still learning from it, right?
That's fair.
So
That's right.
a company can teach a system, but they can't teach hunger and humility, right? So
Yes.
if you are going in there and you're humble and you're hungry to learn, and I think more IA firms are looking for that.
No, that's a wonderful answer. I completely agree. Is having that hunger, having that willing to work. I'm going to do this. Having
Mhm.
that passion is what's going to keep them going when you do give them a handful of files that they need to go get go get it done. If they
Or
don't have
fix.
that passion, right, it's not going to get done. You have to have that passion. So why are you doing this job? Because you heard that you're going to make a lot of money. We talk about this almost every show. Don't tell me if that's the first sentence out of your mouth that you're here for the money. I don't want you. I don't want you on my crew. I don't. Yes, everyone needs money to live and to survive. I completely understand. I like to shop. I like to buy plants. It requires money. So I get it. But if you lead with money, you're not going to make it in this industry because you're going to find out real quick how hard it is and how exhausting it could be. So without that passion, if you lack that passion, you're not going to make it in this industry, and I truly believe that. Um, Talking about when you first start, I have this funny story. It's so embarrassing, but hopefully my vulnerability will encourage others. This is like what? This is like a support group. We turned it into a support group.
Yeah.
My very first claim that I was on my own. My boss. This was 14 years ago. I was 21. Almost 22, and my boss sent me off and said, "Okay, you got one claim. Just do this one claim. See where you're at. We're gonna gauge where you're at." And I took the FNOL. It was an Accord, the Accord sheet, right? And I put that as the insurance carrier, Accord. I put it as the insurance carrier, and my now I look back and go, "What are you doing?" What? He called me in his office and he said, "Nat, no, no, that's not what it is." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And once I realized what I did, I was so embarrassed. But you know what? I had to do it. I had to learn. He wanted me to learn the hard way. And I
Mhm.
thank him for that. I don't like being told the answers. I like finding the answers. And that's what's going to happen when you're new. You're going to have to find the answers, and it's going to be hard, and sometimes it's going to be humiliating when you make those mistakes. But you just got to get back up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah. Great story.
Is it a great story or is it extremely embarrassing? It's embarrassing now that, I know what it is now. I'm like, okay. But anyway, speaking of courses, classes in education, Adjuster Pro, we had Julian Badillo on. He's at the Exactimate trainer. He was on a couple episodes ago, and he does mobile estimating. So he's one of the trainers. A great way for adjusters to kind of get a head start on that mobile adjusting and kind of stand out with their timelines, which is a great way because some of these veterans like me, I'm using pen and paper. You can't tell me different. Hey, it sets you apart. So with Adjuster Pro training, quickly get your CE credits all in one place with Adjuster Pro online. And even better, save 10% with Adjuster Hour 10. Isn't that awesome? You can save some money, explore those courses, and save. So, Matt, this was amazing. I'm so happy that we were able to connect today. And it just shows you a simple connection months ago led to this. I would have never thought. So, hopefully, that gives people motivation. I will be back in Tulsa.
All
So
right.
you owe me dinner. We can
Yeah.
we have to go have some dinner. But thank you so much for your time and insight. It's truly appreciated.
Yeah, I appreciate the chance to, be on the show, to share. I hope something that I said resonates with the people tuned in. So I obviously didn't go too deep, into some of these, with the how to, just more
Yeah.
grassroots type stuff. Uh, I don't know if this is okay, but if any of the listeners, whether now or if they listen to it later, you guys find me on LinkedIn if you want, and if you have a
Yeah, of course.
question, or if there's something that you have a question about, or moving forward, I'd love to help however I can. So shoot me a DM. I'm always available.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely reach out. And you're tagged on my LinkedIn too, so you're super easy to find.
Oh, good.
And speaking of Adjuster Hour, next week we have June 5th. We have an OG. OG is Traditional Adjuster Hour that will be held right here on Restream. Now, what is so special about this Adjuster Hour coming up is that you guys have a chance to be on the show. We have, I think, I can invite 10 people. You can be on the show and have fun, talk to other adjusters. You can ask me questions about your claims, get feedback on your LinkedIn, resume, ask for advice. The opportunities are endless. So, this episode will be recorded. It's going to be so much fun. Who wouldn't want to be on Adjuster Hour, right, Matt? It was great.
It was great.
All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you so much. And you guys have a great night.
Bye.